reproductive sexual rights of adolescents.
But more serious, all the women and all the men in Ashanti region that were interested in the polytechnic, all of them engaged in sex before their marriage.
So, Bright, you do a lot of work across communities, but also with this age group that are supposed to be in school. This statistics also just syncs with what you find out because you do the daily interface.
Yes, I must also say that I'm not really surprised about the outcome of the research that they've done. For us, interacting with young people, these are issues that come up often, and their engagement levels are very high because we currently have a data that we are analyzing. We've collected data on about 27,000 children and looking at their sexuality levels and how they engage with the other in terms of sexual exposure and even the how they engage in pornographic materials and all that. And clearly, it confirms this because what we have between 9 and 11, children are engaged in sexual activities. And
between 9 and 11?
9 and 11, children are engaged in sexual activities. And between 14 and 15, they have active sex. And in our context, when we say something like active sex, it means that they've been very consistent in terms of the engagement and all that. And between 15 and up to 17 years, a lot of children have engaged in recording themselves and sending it to other people and all
with
that. With devices and all that. So this outcome, it also confirms what we've done. And I feel that there are a lot of things that we need to look at in coming to these conclusions because, you know, the research confirmed or they laid more emphasis on cohesion and all that. And cohesion comes in a different forms to children. One is that we don't recognize their developmental levels. And at a certain point, when a child becomes an adolescent, there's a high level of recognition that they want. And in most cases, the family unit system do not give it to them. And the society also tends to neglect some of the difficulty that they have to go through biologically to be able to come out of that stage. So when they get somebody who is interested to give them that kind of attention, they tend to also go with it, you know. And there are some issues that, for us, that one thing that was surprising to me is that a lot of young people were engaged in sex because they needed money to buy sanitary pads, to take care of their monthly needs and all that. So there's a lot of things that will make a child behave in that particular way, but it is a fact.
Okay. Mama Kathy, then we have to transition into the conversation about the foundation. What is it in the society, at the family setting level, the community setting level, that makes this compelling for this to happen?
You see, children were not supposed to just drop from the sky. God entrusted children into the care of parents. And so at the foundational level, I think there is a lot of erroneous belief, and how do I put it? For want of a better word, people are marrying for the wrong reasons. People are engaging in sex and producing children for the wrong reasons. So when you realize that happens, for those of us who engage with children and realize the lapses, the wants, the emptiness, the vacuum, because just as fish thrives only in water, the birds only in the air, the only conducive atmosphere for a child to grow in is a loving home. When that loving home is not provided, whether it's coercion or is self-initiated, you will certainly find children gravitating towards where they feel accepted and they will give in to sex. So we need to do a lot of work re-establishing and re-engineering whatever is required to make homes become safe. And then not just providing safety and security, getting parents to realize that children have need, may not just be physical, may not just be material, but the greatest need of a child is an emotional need. So at the community level or the family level, the importance of emphasizing emotional attention and emotional, atmosphere at home where the children are groomed is so important. Is so important. I couldn't have agreed less with my colleague there in the studio. You know, at the end of the day, you are realizing that children are having early sex. He mentioned 9 years. I've had incidents of 6, 7-year-old children engaging in sex. Why are they doing this? So at the family level, I will emphasize that parents should watch what they allow their children to feed their eyes on, because also the influence of television, what the children are watching and wanting to practice, because they're adventurous. They want to see how this plays out with them. So we need to reinforce the foundation of the family, maybe taking parents through certain level of exposure and training on what is required to be invested in their children, who are actually their future. And then the community not just be laboring themselves over things that won't matter. Because for every society, the future lies with the children. So community leaders, religious leaders, parents in question here, should be able to give prior attention to their children to correct these lapses. Otherwise, it is just but the beginning. Because you realize that these children that we're talking about engaging in sex and all of those, the effect of television, the effect of music artists and what they project on the stage, the effect of movies that they watch, all contribute, apart from the needs that most times the young girls will have and nobody is providing for them. So I believe that it's reinforcing, reorientating people on the effect of not giving attention, proper emotional attention and physical attention to the children will go a long way at alleviating most of these deaths we are having to face.
Okay. Well, Ms. Api, at the end of the day, the devices, the television, the platform being the internet, has now come to stay.
Yeah.
Are there means by which a lack of attention at the community and family level lead to continuous engagement with these platforms and devices that lead to the decision making to be made by the child to fall into coercive situations or even make the willing choice to have early sex?
Yeah, certainly. If you look at the family system, there's a lot happening. And engagement with children clearly shows that they've detached themselves from the family system because, one, in terms of the modern system that we find ourselves in, a lot of parents are not meeting that demand. So sometimes parents find it difficult to even have interaction with their children. And those who do, without any advanced knowledge in terms of technology and all that, also children find it very difficult to understand them. So they tend to go to places that they can get the information. And our part of the world, we've made the internet accessible to everyone, and everything is possible to access online. Elsewhere, it is very difficult for a child to access certain information because the system has made it deliberate for you to have access to information that will build your capacity or that will educate you to have some kind of knowledge in certain areas and all that. But in our part of the world, we've opened everything up for a child. So you can go, a child, and what is common now that children watch in Ghana is the skits, these short videos,
the TikToks,
comic videos that they do. Those are the things that children watch the most in Ghana here. So you can imagine the kind of capacity that they are building. And there's a lot of children who, if you ask them what they want to do, they are now beginning to define their profession in context of becoming
what they are watching.
Dancers,
comedians,
something influencers,
yes,
social media influencers and all that. And that is what is creating the concept in their mind. So if they are not getting that in a more innovative way from the family, they turn to the other side to get that information. And that is what is shaping them. And what I've also seen is that because the engagement is so interactive, they tend to also accept any information that comes with it. So if you are a pedophile, or you are somebody who engage in nudity and all that, you would have a lot of influence over these children. And that is what is fueling some of these outcomes that we are seeing.
Mama Kathy, how and why is it difficult for parents or guardians or people in the community or family setting to be able to provide that watchdog role in terms of the devices and the platforms or the people that these young people interact with, to serve as a deterrent?
Okay, the truth is that before people finally get married, they assume they were in love. And so having been in the family ministry and marriage ministry for a while now, and I've discovered that when, let me use example of women, mostly women. A woman gets married to a man, And he expects that the man is going to be a little god to her. And so she's all over the man. And she gets into marriage. The reality now shows her that that man is not available. So emotionally, they are so traumatized. And their focus shifts from positive things that they're supposed to contribute to their families to pursue after the love of a man that may never be given to them. So at the end of the day, the example of Leah in the Bible, for those who read the Bible, Genesis 29, she is opportune to marry Jacob by whatever hook or crook, tradition of the society and culture. But she gets in there and realizes that Jacob doesn't love her. And she is expending all of her life and time looking for love from Jacob, in spite of the fact that God has opened her womb to produce children. So I'll start from first, zeroing in on this point. Every woman watching us should come to a place of realizing that the change will not happen just like in magic. It is time to look inward. It is time to take responsibility. If it's the husband that is responsible in the marriage, please, husband, look after the affairs of your children. If the wife is also the one, look after. But it is best that the two of them join effort and engage in what will produce the best kind of option for them to adopt in order to lure these children to themselves, such that the children will trust them. Sincerely speaking, the greatest challenge we are having, which is leading up to these statistics, is the fact that marriages are breaking down. People are losing it at the home front. And when you lose it, the children are exposed.
Mama Kathy, you've been quoting Leah and Jacob and those Bible people, but pastors' children are even now doing these things on the very platforms that Mr. Pia talks about, the TikToks, exposing themselves and making all forms of skits and comments, etc. Don't they take lessons from these Bible content and characters, etc.? And how has that got a link to the marriages and then the upbringing of children?
So because I'm a pastor doesn't guarantee that my children will listen to me. Sometimes, you see, pastor, bishop, pope, and all of that, those are titles. Some of these families, the children cannot reconcile the Christianity and the lifestyle they see in church with what is going on at home.
I don't
and
understand.
Children of nowadays, come again.
I don't understand why you're
what
saying
I mean is
a
child.
A pastor portrays to the church and then gives them a guidance that cannot be replicated in the home.
What are you talking about? Being a CEO does not determine who you are as a husband at home, does it? These are callings. You can be everything in church. You can be everything at work. You can be everything in your business arena, but you may not be able to replicate that at home. So hypocritical lifestyle is what this generation is not ready to embrace. And we must understand that in our times, you could close blind eyes to whatever disparity there were between outside life and the inside life. But children nowadays, you can be a pastor or a pope, like I said earlier on, and you are very successful practicing that out there, or a sheikh, an imam. But if there is no what do you call it now? If you can't reconcile that life outside with what is going on at home, children give up on you. And if that will make them even rebel more.
Okay.
Because I have interacted with children who say, my father is a bishop, is a pope, is a this, but they fight always, they insult themselves. And so they don't even trust the message out there that the parents give. So what am I saying? I am not coming to probably talk down on anybody in whatever category they operate. But what I'm saying is, let there be a corresponding positive reaction, positive lifestyle at home. Because children, follow after modeling, patterning.
Okay.
When you live the right kind of life, children will trust you, and whatever you tell them against the skit and all of what is peddled outside, they will trust your judgment because you are who they want to see as role models at home. That is what we should be preaching and pushing now.
Mr. Apia,
Yeah.
something has got to be fundamentally wrong with the education. Is it the education at the home or the formal education in the school? Or is it the detachment? And if there is that detachment, how do we make sure there's a certain link between the education from the home, the contact, and then what is taught at school? Because to be truthful, these categories of young people spend more time in school.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's where you come in as your organization and your work over the period.
Exactly. we all recognize that for a child to grow, one of the environment that we have defined for their growth has to do with the family unit system. So that role cannot be taken away because, in fact, the law has also imposed that responsibility on parent to perform that basic responsibilities. So the unit system is clearly the environment where children need to learn some of these things. So there are some parents that are doing well, some too don't. And when it comes to sexuality, you need to have interaction with children. You cannot just leave it under some kind of mysterious environment to paint it as if it is some kind of a taboo that you cannot, because there are people that I've interviewed, though they are old, 27, 30, 35, that at a point when they were growing up, their parents even told them that when a man touches you, you'll get pregnant, you know. And when they realized that it wasn't the case, that made them to continue to do the kind
I don't understand. You're saying that we should be free and talk about sex.
We should be free and talk about sex.
Just like that.
Because you see, one thing that we don't do is that we don't recognize the developmental stages of our children to give them the kind of information that need a particular development at a particular age. So we tend to carry on some information. And when we do that, we create a whole generational gap in our children. So for instance, if someone, you can go to where children play and you see an adult who is also having that kind of tendency to exhibit that kind of play, that's purely a generational gap, and it's very it's psychological. So if children who fail to have that kind of experience in their childhood, when they grow up, they will tend to exhibit that kind of behavior. It's the same way that when you fail to educate a child about sexuality, when they get to know what it is, they will practice it in their own way. And even if you talk to them, they will not listen. So the family system is very, very important. Then you come to the school system. You see, just imagine that you go to class and then you say, oh, today we are coming to study biology. You see the kind of reaction that children give when they hear the word biology. Because for them, when the teacher comes, even the way and manner they express issues about sexuality,
gets them excited.
Yeah, they get them excited
Yeah,
and feel like, what is happening and all that. It means that we are not really integrating the concept of sex into a normal activities of children for them to understand who they are. Because at the point, children come to the state of confusion and they want to understand who they are, how they can behave, and who they can respond to. But we tend to take away all these issues, even within the school system. When a child comes to you, as even a counselor, a child comes to you and tells you that, oh, this person is trying to talk to me about sex and all that. The reaction that even comes from the counselor tells you that, no, there's something wrong and sex should still be a mystery in the minds of children. And when that gets exposed, there's a lot that they do with it.
Pastor Mama Kathy, the Bible and the sex, so how do we do the conversation? Because you are not supposed to be having sex, but children are having the sex. So how do you talk about it? Please, we've opened the phone lines too, just in case you want some guidance and you want to contribute, you can as well to the conversation. Mama Kathy, you.
There is a whole book in the Bible called the Songs of Solomon that talks about love, romance, sex, and all of that in very clear terms. So I don't see why anybody should have a problem. I believe it's also how we were raised. Mostly the parents were raised to think that this was a taboo to even address. The Bible is very open about sexuality. It's God that created our sexuality. It's God that created us as sensual beings. So I would, like I do, I teach my people, be very open and frank about telling children the different things they need to know about sex. And like it's rightly said, developmental ages, from the age of 2, 3, children are inquisitive now. They are exposed to a lot of things. So it awakens their consciousness to the things that probably ours were not awakened to early enough. And I believe that every parent has a responsibility of teaching their children about sex and sexuality. They're gone are the days, like he said, when you thought you'll be pregnant, there's no such thing. And then they go there, they are touched, there's no pregnancy, no.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. We have a first caller. Good morning. What's your name and where are you speaking from?
Sabina. I'm calling from Paul in the Western region.
Okay. So do you have an experience to share, as in you having early sex, or you have some observations that you want to make on this subject? Hello? All right, the phone lines are still open. And you want to conclude for us, Mama Kathy, just shortly, in a minute.
Yes, yes. I would have wanted to say that we need to talk about it. And I think the other aspect we haven't really looked into is the fact that for girls, there are certain basic needs that if it's not provided, it may lure them outside to going to, subjecting themselves to sex just so that they can buy sanitary pad, they can buy the little things that is needed. So poverty also, to some extent, drives young girls into early exposure to sex. And we must look into.
All right. We have a caller. Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Asante calling from Howard.
Okay, Mr. Asante, please go ahead.
All right. I'm a teacher in the second cycle institution. And this particular issue is not new to us also on campus.
Wow.
Students as young as 12, 13, 14, as it has been discussed, engage in this sexual activity. Now, gone with the days when we were in school. If you are pregnant, we frown on it a little bit. But now, students are allowed to bring the pregnancy on campus. So imagine, as a young girl, I see my colleague who is pregnant in class with me. Nothing is being done about it. What do you think will happen? Psychologically, I think, well, it's okay for me to engage in sex as young as I am. So policies and other things are also things encouraging this particular sexual, immoralities in our schools and in our society.
Mr. Asante, are you saying that if young girls are pregnant, they shouldn't attend school or they should be given special tuition? I don't understand you.
I am not saying they shouldn't be allowed.
So what are you saying?
Schools. I am saying that, things like that encourages the girls to actually engage themselves in the sexual malpractice.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Because all right, you're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Asante, you're related to these conversations, right?
Yes.
School. As for the school pregnancy.
The school.
But what's the position on it? What should we do? Should we not encourage pregnant young girls to come to school?
For me, pregnancy should not deter a child from coming to school. But it is a system that are available that they should access,
He says it sets the wrong example.
I don't think that. For me, if you see a young girl pregnant coming to school, the difficulty that they go through, sometimes they question, but they find themselves in a state of confusion that, because there's a lot of interaction that goes on between a child to child. And they tend to accept that as information that they want than what adult will tell them because of the way and manner they deliver the information.
All right. We have Isaac from Awoshi. Isaac.
Yes, sir, please.
Please, your contribution.
Okay. So please, with the issue of sex education, I think if the parents tell their words themselves, I think it will help. Because if you are doing something and then you know what you are doing, you know how to do it in such a way that you not get any problem. Please, do you understand what I'm saying?
So you are saying that, are you saying that parents should tell the children, let's say, use contraceptive as by way of education, or this is what is going to happen if you don't have sex, or if you have sex?
No, please.
Okay.
Sir, please, if you would understand me, I'm trying to say that if the child knows whatever thing he or she is doing, he will know how to do it in such a way that it wouldn't worry him. So if you tell the child that this is what we call sex, this is your what, this is her what.
Okay.
If you do this and this, you get into trouble. So
All
don't
right.
do it. So with this, the child knows that if I do this, I'm not good. I'll be in trouble. If I do this, I'll not be in trouble. So anytime the child is doing that thing, the child knows exactly what he's doing, and then he knows where he goes, and then he will get problems. And he knows where when he touch or do or whatever thing he will do, he will not get into trouble. That's what I'm trying to say. So if the parents tell their what they need to know, I think with that,
okay,
the ones will not be in trouble.
Mama Kathy, I think this one also rhymes with what Ms. Apia said. Let's be open about sex, its education, and talk about it. But here we are talking about Elijah, Moses, and the people. So how do we do that? Let's say in a Krife home. In a Krife home, Hey, but at the same time, you say, oh, please, if you go and have sex, have it with condom or contraception. How do you reconcile that?
I don't know what's the difference. The Christian home is a home where there are rules and order, but the Christian should not be over spiritualization. No, it shouldn't be. It should be just where the truth is being shared. And the truth is shared from the place, from the perspective of trust, that I have built trust, you love me, tough love that allows me trust your suggestions to me. So there's no problem sharing that. But when it comes to contraception, it depends on how you have raised your children. It depends on the communication or conversations you've had with them. If you realize, because you can't force a child, we are talking about children probably from the ages of 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. When a child gets to 18, is already an adult. And so that child should be open to certain truth. If you do this, these are the consequences. So you better do the right thing. But my suggestion for you as a child will be that you'll be you practice abstinence. But if you want to go the other way, these are the consequences. And so I would advise that you learn more so that you don't expose yourself to a lifetime of sorrow by reason of the actions you would have taken out. So I believe everything centers around conversation within the household. Conversation, because what you don't tell your children, somebody else will tell them.
Okay.
And when they get the information from the wrong place, the consequences may be there.
Okay. We have a caller from Dan Soman. What's your name? Kaswa? Kaswa?
Yes.
What's your name?
Good morning. I'm Jafar, calling from Kaswa.
You are what? Japan?
Jafar, yes.
Jafar.
Jafar.
Okay, Jafar.
Yes. Well, good morning.
Right. Good morning. Please, your contribution.
Yeah. For me, I think the main problem about this is the failure from the adults who are supposed to guide the young.
Okay.
But I find it difficult to understand why would, a 15, 14-year-old engage in any kind of sexual act. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Why? Yes, I come from a religious woman. I'm a Muslim. In the first place, we understand that sex, by default, is wrong.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Jafar.
Hello.
I believe you're a young person. How old are you?
Come again.
How old are you?
I'm an adult.
Okay, you're an adult. Okay.
Yes.
You haven't heard or seen when you were that age, 15, friends around you or people around you who were engaging in sex?
Yeah, I've heard.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not surprising, is it?
It's surprising. I've seen and heard, but it's still surprising to me why it still goes on. And I think the main problem has to do with parents and or let's say adults who are supposed to guide the young.
Okay.
For me, I think the responsibility of an adult is to guide the young.
Okay. Are you a parent?
Come again.
Are you a parent?
I'm not a parent.
Not yet. But if you become a parent, would you be willing to openly talk about sex to your child?
You see, it depends. Depending on the age of the child, is how I'll talk about sex to my child.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
And I'll go at it in a religious way. However, after putting out the religious way of advising my child the religious way, I also put aside religion and then talk about science too.
All right.
To advise my child.
All right, mashallah.
So I think the main problem here has to do with the adults not guiding the young properly. Just as the woman talked about lots of divorce in the system these days, and it's a factor to this kind of problem we are facing today. The adults just take decisions. Anyhow, they don't care about the consequences of their decisions. Sorry to say that. No disrespect to any adult, but I'm just putting out mine.
But your experiences and then your observations.
Yes.
All right.
Some of the adults just think, this is the decision we have to take and it's right. However, they forget about certain consequences they may have to the young ones in the future. And what we now to the generation we have with social media and all that, certain things we see on the internet and all that also affect the children.
All right.
So I think
Jafar, thank you very much for your observation. Now, Mr. Apia, how do we talk to children in the midst of being religious, having an open society where you need to have access to the internet, etc., have the right sort of networking, and then you are open and bombarded with a lot of information at the same time, from the home to the community?
I think that the first thing that we need to look at in engaging children is to understand the environment in which they are. If you understand it from that perspective, we'll be able to do a lot of good. Understand the school that they attend, the kind of people that come to that environment. Do assessment of on your child to know the kind of information that he or she is possessing or is at his or her disposal. Then, in most cases, I would adopt a situation where I'll raise a topic for discussion for your child to also contribute, for you to know the state at which you have to engage your child. Because there are a lot of young people who are at age 5, 6, they understand issues on sexuality even than somebody who is at the age of 10. So you need to understand, you lay this foundation and be able to devise ways and means to engage your child. If not, if you want to have a certain kind of lay down formula that at this age, let me engage, no,
it's not
you
going
will
to
get
work.
it wrong.
We have a call up. Good morning to you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, sir. This is Mama Abukari calling from Ada.
Okay. Please, your contribution. Your contribution to the conversation.
Yeah, concerning the sexuality, young girls engaging in early sex, it's quite unfortunate. It's done in society, and more especially parenting, poor parenting. In a situation where parents will have about 4 or 5 children, they are living in a single room with their children, more especially in the Zongo communities. More especially in the Zongo communities. So when I'm having my children here.
I know.
Yeah. So where you have parents living with their children, they do about 4 or 5 children. So wherever the children goes out, that's the time for the parents to have time for each other or to have fun.
Abu, how many children do you have?
Come again.
How many children do you have?
Yeah, I have 4.
Okay, very good. So you are speaking. Are you speaking from your experience?
I've lived in Zogo community before. Okay. I've lived in Zogo community. People like Lima and Mahmoud.
Mashallah.
So when you see girl children going out at the age of 10, 14, 15, what are they engaged in? Parents will not ask. Again, one of the speakers talk about basic needs. You have a girl who go out and come out, maybe she's going out with a yellow dress, come out with blue dress. As a parent, would you have a child away from this thing?
Yeah.
You haven't bought it for her. Or a pair of sandals, you haven't bought it for her. Yes, it comes with something new. So the honest lies on us to be curious about where they get those material things for. That's number one. Number two, have we bought it for them? So it's up to us to kind of shoulder our responsibility. When the religion says let's produce more, it's not about producing, responsible.
Yes.
If we are responsible, though in certain areas we have children who are happy, they pay attention to other children outside. Yes, those challenges are there. But as parents, let's live up to the billion.
All right. Mama Kathy, are parents not speaking up and asking questions? And why are they not doing that? Is it out of neglect or just don't have the knowledge to do so?
Some could be out of neglect. Some is that they don't have the knowledge to do so. Some could be because of several other distractions. Right. Trying to run around to make life a bit more easy for the children and the family. So there are a lot of factors that contribute to the inadequacy in the conversation that is shared between parent and a child. And so I would really want to emphasize the fact that there's a time frame yet you have control over your children. And I think that parents should maximize that time frame and then engage your children. But I go back to what I said, which I don't know whether it slipped or you didn't really get it. I want to emphasize on that point. In the present day world, children can only listen to what you say if they can trust you. If they don't trust you, they won't listen to you. You may say all what you want to say, but if they don't trust you, love you, care, and you're concerned about them, they will not take your instructions. And there are so many other things distracting them. Peer pressure is real. Lack is real. Competition that social media produces is real. These children have access to all of these social media platforms and internet. And at the end of the day, they also want to be like other people, mostly the girls and even the boys. So we need to get back to strengthening the bond at home. Parents need to get back and find time to commit commit real life virtues and morals to their children and make their children believe in them. Daddy should be present at home to be able to tell the children, what is right and what is wrong. Because we cannot neglect this. Fatherhood is crucial to raising children that will not be influenced by whatever the negativity is out there.
Okay.
The negativity out there is bringing about. Fathers should be present at home. Mothers should also give attention and not allow their emotions to destroy whatever they stand for. There should be an understanding, because I am not, even in my time when the pressure was not as high as it is now, we still had these tendencies. So let's not deceive ourselves.
Okay.
At the 12, 13, 14, I knew that young girls were having sex, young boys were having. It is not a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's only that now the difference is that they are multifaceted in nature because other things have been introduced. So children need a safe home where they can trust the parent to be able to guide them.
All right. Thank you very much. That's your last comment on this conversation. Mrs. Catherine Owondukwe is a family life consultant and then also president and CEO, Family Renaissance International. Thank you very much. I don't know if you're still on. Mommy and Papa.
Yeah.
Okay, so when kids 4 or 5 years up to, let's say, 10 years, they engage in some of these plays, maybe fiddling with each other's bodies, etc. So Abigail has a certain situation like that in which the 4 or 5-year-old niece was caught also fiddling with the body of the cousin. Does that have any influence by the time in the early years or later years?
That is some kind of they are learning by imitation. It means that there is some kind of practice that learn the in the home. And all spoken about it, although since somebody the obvious reason, but it's for play. But yes, but you're mimicking the expression they constantly say. Exactly. I always tell people that if you want to know what is happening at home, engage a child for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. You'll get to know.
Go blow you like BNI officer.
You'll get to know everything at home. You'll get to know.
Mama Kathy, do you know Mommy and Papa? When you were a kid, you have 4 or 5-year-olds just playing each other, cooking, running into corners and all that. Is this something that also can be an influence in the few years to come in the child's life? And as a result of this, to contribute, just in 10 seconds, if you can, yes or no?
We used to do those things. We used to do. It's just a natural innate desire in children. It may not lead up to anything absurd, but the problem is if that is now invaded by a polluted, corrupted child who comes to introduce them. But children really will play, mommy, papa, they will do that. It's natural, it's imprinted in children. But it depends on the atmosphere you create around them after that as they evolve. Yeah. That you protect them from invasion from people who can come and corrupt the process that was meant to serve as a play.
All right. How do you pronounce your name? The second one, Catherine?
It's a 3-syllable name, 3-syllable. Onwi Oduo Kit. Onwi Oduo Kit.
Onwi Oduo Kit.
Correct.
Okay, very easy. Onwi Oduo Kit. Mrs. Catherine Onwi Oduo Kit, CEO, President, Family Renaissance International. I think, didn't I do well with the pronunciation? My director is telling me I'm wrong.
Oh my goodness, you did very well. At least the last part, you are now doing it excellently well.
Fantastic. Mrs. Catherine Onwe Docket. Fantastic. Bright Apia, thank you very much as well.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed the very insightful conversation, and all of you have contributed. Let me just read a couple of the messages that I got on the console. Very interesting comment. So I have this one from Henry, who says, teachers in our second cycle institutions are taking advantage of our girls. It's an issue that also, as a people, we need to take a look at. And then we have Emmanuel Akolo, who says, Telegram and Snapchat are leading the site for these kids. Kids have been given phones, and it's a big problem. Bright and then Kathy, there is issue about the devices and the platforms. Wow. So let's cash out. It goes with the short code *439#. And the more you cash out, you get money credited into your mobile money account. So this is what we're going to do the draw, and as quickly as possible. Mama Kathy, thank you very much. Bright, thank you very much as well. We'll call it a morning on this conversation.